Hello, it's Caveman again. Just some helpful hints. Again, this video is not to intimidate anyone or make it sound like I'm just God's gift to slot car tracks, because I'm not. Not even close. Anyway, this video will take and have a few things in it. One of them is going to take and be building your own supports out of just about anything as far as for your slot car tracks. Some of your supports that come with the sets, they work great. They do. It just depends on what you're doing. In this case, where I have around 70 foot of track in my man cave, I needed different types of supports for different reasons. Anyway, a good strong support like this right here, okay, this is all just made up out of leftovers that I had, okay. It was very inexpensive, and it worked well. So that is just one idea of those, and there's a few of them as far as that goes on the track that can help support it. It's kind of hard to see them all with all the stuff that I have sitting around, but they can be made and they can be cut or fashioned to the height you want. So that's just something we're going to start with, and again, just for making it simple for a person. Okay, first of all, the one that I just showed you that's on the track that I'm using, all right, basically is made out of my packing tape rolls. All right, I go through a lot of these, so I know I have at least 50, maybe even 100 of these, and I'll never use them all, but I have them, and I saved them forever, and I didn't know why. And all of a sudden, it just came to me, not that it's not come to anyone else, what I could take and do with these. Now, just using a standard Elmer's school glue or craft glue, sometimes you can get that at dollar store, sometimes as little as 50 cents, and you can take and get these shop brushes, right? These particular ones, which are very inexpensive. I think I had gotten them at Harbor Freight, but there's a whole bunch of them, and they can be cleaned and used for different things. They're not, fine paintbrush as far as that goes, but they do a job for a lot of different items. They don't cost you much, and if for some reason you can't get it completely clean, you throw it away, grab another one. There's 36 in one bag. I think it was only a couple bucks. So anyway, getting past all that, the Elmer's glue, all right, you can take and you could play around and try to get this here exactly on there, right? Like so. I don't even know if that's showing up. Yep, it's showing up. Okay. Like this here. All right. And it just depends on how tall you need to make these things. The nice thing is other than being cardboard and actually very solid, they don't cost you nothing. I mean, you're just basically saving your rolls of tape. So if you do any selling on eBay, things like that, these are perfect for that. You can take and wipe the excess. All right. Are you supposed to use your finger? I suppose. I don't know, but I do. So there's one that's that height. And as far as the safeness, it's Elmer's glue, same thing they use in school, so it's safe for the kids to take and help out and so on. But you can take and build these as tall as you want, and after that glue sets, because it is a paper type glue, those things are stout. So as far as that goes, you can take and make these things as pretty much as tall as you needed to make them, I suppose, and they would be very sturdy under your track. Okay, they got a little bit of a wide base, which is, I don't know, give or take about maybe 3.5 inches or so, possibly 4. But as you can see, you can take and have 4 there, or 3, and then 2, and then 1, and so you can graduate your track simply by just doing that. Now, here's one that I painted black, okay, just like the ones that I use on my set, and I have different levels that I've used. And a person could, if they were careful, is try to take and cut this here, and you probably take and use an X-Acto knife, one like this here. All right, you can take and do it as long as you drew the line on there so you could follow each time, but be very, very careful. The kids can cut themselves on these things. And there are some saws, like a hacksaw, that will work. And if you take the hacksaw blade completely off the hacksaw and just hold it, you can take and slowly but surely cut that. Other people will actually take their circular saw and run that thing, or they'll use a jigsaw. Okay, so once again, that's just making some supports. Now, on a video before, I showed stealing a wire from one of those, what do you call it, candle lights as far as people use in their house around Christmas and so on. And all I did really, and you wouldn't never necessarily use a support that's that tall, but with the base and stuff, what I was able to take and do is cover it, okay? Give it kind of a crusty look, if you want to call it, like a stucco or a heavy cement. And you could cut this here to whatever height or length you needed it on your track. Then you could take and glue something across it. But it was just something that I had. So the nice thing is that you can take and have that as your base if it was all cement looking type thing, right? And you were trying to give your track a little bit more reality look as far as that goes. I mean, you know, if that was sitting on, you know, green grass area type thing like that, it would probably look a lot better than just the black. Now, the ones that I built out of the tape rolls definitely do not have to take and be painted black. They could be painted gray, any color you like. Now, and I'm not saying where you need to get your paint, but the paint that I use for a lot of these projects is just simply water-based paint that you get at Kmart. They have a zillion different colors if you go to their hobby area, and most of the time I find it for like 50 cents for, I guess it's 2 ounces. So that's a lot of paint, believe it or not, in that little container, and it's all water-based, kind of like a finger paint almost. And you can get all kinds of colors in it. Most of the time they're flat. Some of them will take and say that they're semi-gloss, that kind of stuff. Just depends on what you're painting and how you want it to look. So pretty much that's a great place to take and go. And the paint itself does wonders for these items. Now, the other thing that I was wanting to take and show you is I sell this material by the bag, okay? A lot of times it's for, you know, people take and use it on their train tracks. They'll put it against the trains. They can take and use it for just miscellaneous things. And the reason that I'm showing this is because it's kind of hard to describe in words exactly what you can use it, even in the pictures. But here's a, you know, an HO house, and you can see that the house itself, okay, I put some of that around the edges, kind of like where the sidewalk would be, all right? And all I did basically was take and paint Elmer's glue in this area here, all right, and then sprinkle it on. After I sprinkled it on, I shook it off a little bit, and that's the end result. So gives it like a gravel, you know, sidewalk. Now you can take and paint that right over it. You can paint it gray, you can paint it black, brown, etc., and you know, it would look different. So it's to each their own. Or if you just had a sidewalk coming out, it could be the sidewalk, and you could have grass on both sides. Now, the other thing that I did in the same exact house, okay, is I took and put it on the side of the house. Now, you know, we got a real close-up here as far as that goes. But from a distance, all right, it kind of gives it the stucco look, if you want to call it that. Now, and that also can take and be painted, all right, more of a stone look as far as that goes. Now, you can use that for painting fences. You can just take a straight piece of cardboard that you cut, or poster board, and cover it on both sides with the Elmer's glue, sprinkle that on, and take and build a small fence that goes between one yard and another. Okay, pretty simple stuff to take and do, very cheap to do, and the one bag that I take and sell goes a very, very long way. I think it covers 22 foot of an HO train track, the rails as far as that goes, but one bag is quite a bit. So it just depends on what a person's using. Now, I've already taken and glued this here down for one reason. I wanted to take and let you know that, hey, you know, a lot of times I'll take and say, hey, you can do this or that. Same kind of paint, shake it up a little bit. It's a water base, and I just kind of squirt some down, whatever I'm going to take and need. And it's inexpensive, so it's not like I just wasted a whole lot of paint there. Now, you can do a little at a time, of course, and so on, okay? But this here stuff, you can take and, you know, paint it. If you needed something to be more brown or whatever color, okay, you could take and, you know, run the paint right over it, okay? No real problems. Now, you know, you might want to take and use it, believe it or not. It's still textured. Would it be perfect? Not necessarily, but you could take and use the same exact stuff, and you could try to simulate, well, it'd probably be a lighter blue would be better, okay? Or you could take and mix the paints and come up with your own color, and, you know, make it a little bit lighter, right? You know, Some of us are real great artists. Some of us don't know what we're doing, like me. And I just experiment over and over and over. So you might take and, you know, make that a small pond. It may be on a HO scale. You don't need a big space to take and have that pond, as far as that goes, or it can just be a water hole, you know. Just depends on what the person's really looking to take and do. Now the other thing is that, and I thought I had it out here, but I don't. But you can take and paint this here green. All right, you could put the green on both sides, or if you wanted to just simulate dead grass because it was winter time, all right, you could take and come up to here and paint a brown on both sides. You know, less the walk. Oh, need a little bit more paint there. Where's it at? There it is. And, you know, I'm just using a piece of cardboard to take and do the illustration on, but here's the unique thing. If you get a nice thick piece of cardboard, whether you have to buy the box or just get a box from Walmart or a dollar store, etc., it's great to take and do this on, because you can take that same piece of cardboard, cut it to your layout, and when you're finished decorating that section, you can take this whole piece of cardboard, put it on your layout, and fasten it down either with a little bit of glue, but I suggest just small screws. Then after you put screw in, cover it up with a little bit of paint or the same stuff that you're using, and you know, it just doesn't show, but you're not painting, you know, your plywood or your styrofoam. It's to each their own, okay, once again. So, you know, that could be the grass, that could be a sidewalk, etc., etc. So that stuff comes in handy for a lot of different things. The last thing that I wanted to take and mention was painting some of these little figures, okay? And these, you know, they're a lot cheaper when you take and buy them, as far as that goes, when they're not painted, all right? But, and I just grabbed a color, and what I'm taking and explaining here is if you're taking just dab the face to give it some kind of color, right? And even if you do it with a big brush, any place that for fingers, that kind of thing, you just take and dab that, say for instance light brown, etc. Anywhere that is supposed to be showing skin, all right? If you do it that way first, then it's real simple for you to later take and come up and, in this case, again, same paint, inexpensive. Now they make paints as far as it goes for models that are flat color, and they, you know, hey, there's no doubt they would be the absolute best. But for inexpensive and experimenting, and for these slot car tracks and things like that, you don't have to take and do a whole lot. So I'm going to give this guy some gray hair, but the nice thing is that I am not trying to get around his ear. I'm not trying to paint it in ear, okay? I'm just painting what supposedly is this guy's hair. Now, it may not look all that good when I get done here, but I'm not taking a whole lot of time. I'm just giving you the example of using a smaller brush, and maybe even smaller than this, you can take and do the fine tuning as far as your paint goes. But you can see at the back where this person's hair pretty much went. So that person has got grayish hair. It might even be a lighter color, but you know what? Let's see here. I'm not even showing it well. The hair is gray. Okay? And each item that you take and paint, the nice thing is this watercolors, is you can take and an old medicine bottle, etc., a paper towel, same brush, pull it away, and I'm going to give this guy, well, I'm going to use that paint that's already down there. I'm going to give him kind of a bluish shirt, okay? So again, around where the person's facial hair, or excuse me, skin is supposed to be, all I have to do is go around to the edges. Painting his sleeves, and I can see where his hands start, and that's a little harder, but you take and just dab nice and easy. With a smaller brush it might be a little bit simpler. Other paints flow differently, but this paint seems to, in general anyway, it works for what I'm using it for. And you can always take and touch up the brown if you, as far as the facial color, if you make a mistake. It's not that hard, and with these inexpensive paints, it doesn't take that much. And so when you take and purchase the unpainted versions of these, you can kind of get them to come to life a little bit better and look a whole lot better than what they do when they're just plain white or gray, depending on how they come. And once again, you know, just getting in there, and depending on the size of the brush will depend on what you can do and how close you can get to it. In this case, it looks like that's goes all the way down. So, whoops, made a mistake there. No big deal, because when I paint the pants, I have another chance to line that up again. Now, and I'm doing this kind of quick because I don't want to keep the video running forever, but you can see I can leave a little bit of the skin showing right in between that because it's already been painted. But imagine trying to get that exact spot painted with the skin color. It would be hard to do. Now, you know, these are in grandstands lots of times, standing beside of a track, maybe a train set as far as a layout. But basically, the nicest thing that I'm trying to take and explain, even though these are a rubber / plastic, you can take and get them to look pretty, you know, authentic as far as setting in your stands. All right, you know, you have some that actually take and, you know, have couples, and the same thing. Start out with their faces, whatever flesh tone you want to take and give them. Start that out first. Find their hands, right? Any place that's supposed to be showing a finger or an ear, that kind of thing, and then you can take and paint around that. You know, if the guy, in this case, the binoculars, all right, and that was kind of, you know, where do I take and paint? There's very little places to take and dip, but I got up underneath real good, and where his skin color was, his hands, and now when I paint his shirt and things like that, and those binoculars, it'll be a whole lot easier than trying to reach up under there and paint the face. Okay, paint the top first. That gives you something to hold on to. If you have more than one, you may be able to lay it down, and you know, if they're a setting one, you can actually set them somewhere, right, and let them dry. When that's completely dry, you know, then you can do the pants, because how else are you going to hold it? And this particular paint, it's a flat color, and when it dries fairly quick. So, you know, it won't be maybe an hour or so, but you can probably grab that and actually paint the bottom. So if you're doing a whole bunch of figures, you can take and paint one at a time, do all the tops first, you know, make them look like people, you know. And I'm not an artist or anything, but the top version of that doesn't look bad, and if it was sitting in a bleacher, etc., it would look all right. So, you know, that's what I'm getting at. Pretty simple to take and do. Use the inexpensive paints like this here, and you, especially the larger scale, because they're a little bit easier to mess with. If you get these in HO scale, you're doing the same thing, but you're doing a whole lot smaller version of it, and it's, you know, you definitely have to take your time, but do the same thing with the face and the skin colors of the hand, etc. So that is about it for this particular video. And let's see here. That's all for this video. I've got one more that I'm going to take and do for you. Always look out for these kind of corny videos. Some of them is how you can show you great things. Some of them not so great. Some of you have been there, done that. Some of you do it a whole lot better than me. I am envious of the guys and the ladies that take and put these sets together. Their layouts look so real. It just I can't even believe they do it that well. But I'm not that guy. I just kind of get by and give you an idea where you can start. How well it looks when you're done is how much time you spend. Have a good one, and thanks.